Welcome to the American Neighbor Project, your favorite new podcast. Hello, and welcome to the American Neighbor Project, your favorite new podcast. Today, I bring to you an amazing person with a passion for animals. So much so, it consumes a huge part of her life, and she's all in for a mission of rehabilitation and restoration. She has been saving animals from cute and furry to scaled and feathery. Today, you will hear about an amazing life of Vicki Weiland, from Kane Area Rehabilitation Education Wildlife. Vicki, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here today. So, Vicki, for our listeners just meeting you, who are you in your own words?
Well, it depends on who you ask. Most people say a little bit crazy, but very passionate, very involved, very outspoken, maybe not to the best point, but it is what it is, and very committed.
All right. So tell us, what is Kane Area Rehabilitation and Education for Wildlife? And what problem does it solve in the world?
Well, we are a community organization, meaning that we do a little bit of a few things, but our primary focus is on wildlife rehabilitation. When I moved out here in the mid 80s, I was looking for horse property and was in the middle of nowhere. So this was perfect. And very soon I became more involved in the natural fauna of the area. And there really wasn't anything going on in this area for wildlife rehabilitation. And I ended up hooking up with a rehabber who moved out here from Texas, who was also shocked that there was nothing going on out here. And we kind of merged together and began care. And that's how this was started 32 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. And are you a government-funded organization, or is it funded by the love and support of your volunteers?
Yeah, the government does not fund this at all. There are lots of paperwork and a lot of permits and licensing needed to do it, but we are strictly funded on donations and frankly, my job. I've been working full time this whole time. And of course, volunteers. Volunteers are our number one issue, number one importance.
Okay. And where did your personal love for animals begin? How did you become an animal lover where you decided, I want to start this and take care of animals?
Always have. As a child, my parents allowed us to have pretty much any type of pet you wanted, provided you cared for it, you cleaned it, you fed it, watered it, took care of it. And with 4 brothers and sisters, everybody started collecting different animals, which quickly waned, as it does for most children. And I picked up the slack for everybody because I didn't want them to be given away or whatever was going to happen if they weren't being cared for. My number one love has always been horses. And I started saving my babysitting money at a very young age. And at 14, I bought a horse. Yes, someone sold me at 14 a horse. Came home, told my parents, they went, "You did." Off we went. I wasn't going to give him up.
And so was that where did you keep a horse? Like, did you bring that home and put him in the garage, or?
No, I still boarded him at the facility. He was 4 months old. He was still with his mother. And once he was weaned, I had already searched for a suitable facility close to my home, and I had him brought up here. I spent every waking moment with him. We grew up together. I trained him myself. He was very huge part of my life for 32 years.
Wow. My daughter's 14, so she listens to this. Don't get any ideas.
Keep the money in like a drawer so it's not found, in an envelope in the sock drawer or something. I'm not helping you.
So you came out to, I think you said, the St. Charles area for horse property. So the horses kind of continued there. What were the early days of this like?
Um, Again, I came out here to have somewhere I can keep my horses in my backyard. The next big dream that I had. And it was very difficult because DuPage County, sorry, was already starting to expand to the point where land, horse property was way too expensive. Taxes would be too expensive. So we started to venture out a little bit and hit Kane County, which back then was the middle of nowhere. And I found this house and the property, and first thing we did was put the barn up, and we moved the horses out before we really did anything at all to the house because I wanted them in my backyard right now. And that's what happened.
So how did it become an animal rescue?
Well, again, like I said, I met up with a lady who had been a rehabber in Texas who came out here and found out nothing was going on. And we kind of hooked up and started to form care. We started to get other people together. She actually put an ad in the local paper and said, "Are you interested in wildlife?" And we had meetings and found a nice little group that wanted to get started on this. We really didn't have anything to go by besides what you would know about wildlife rehab back in the day before there were computers and things like that. So you just kind of went with what you could find out and what you were told, and hunting down other rehabbers to talk to them, which is very important, is to talk to people who've been doing it and finding out what their little tricks of the trade are, because a lot of that stuff's not on Google or anywhere else. Not that we had Google back then, mind you, but
Not at all. So were the animals in your barn, or did they start out in the house, or
they started out in the
where were you
house,
housing these
yeah,
animals?
and most wildlife rehabilitators in the state of Illinois, it's on their property. Okay. The state of Illinois doesn't have any big centers except for DuPage Conservation Society. It was previously known as Willowbrook, and that's funded for by the DuPage County taxpayers. It's on their property tax bill. Otherwise, the next facility that is kind of standalone, which really isn't a facility, is University of Illinois. They have a wildlife center at the vet clinic down there. Otherwise, everybody else, it's your property, starting off on your house, maybe putting up a building or whatever, depending on how much land you have. But everybody, it's on privately owned property, which is a concern for most of us, because as we're getting older, um, what's going to happen? Is someone actually going to want to take this over, or is this going to be something that is going to get lost when you pass away or feel you need to move?
Uh, uh,
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's a
in,
problem.
in in preparation for the interview, you told me you're currently rehabilitating 1,000 animals per year. So over that 30 years, that's a massive amount of animals. When you say that number out loud, what goes through your mind?
Honestly, I wish I could do more. That's what goes through my mind. You have to reach a point where, as you've built up as a new rehabber, you do 100 animals a year or 150, and as you gain your experience and your knowledge and your base, you start to reach out to other rehabilitators. You hook up with people that are working with the same species you are, so that you guys can keep together with finding out which formula is working better than something else. You have a very small network of people that you can talk to about this without sounding like a complete crazy person. So you need to work. The bigger your scope, the more easier things get, the more your success rates are, the more animals you can save. And as a rehabber for as many years as I've been doing it, you're always thinking of what more can I do to help? I get fairly involved with social issues regarding wildlife. I've been banned from sites all over Facebook, so I pretty much tell it like it is, to try and get people to understand how to live with wildlife. Education is the key. We're very big on education here at CARE. We do take our animals out to schools and scout troops, events. trying to teach people why we need them instead of everybody wanting to get rid of everything.
So is there a certain type of animal that you most commonly work with, or you just get all kinds?
We get all kinds. I have to say the highest number of any one species would be raccoons, unfortunately. Um, people people have not yet grasped the concept of spring and babies. I have a really hard time with people not understanding that. Um, uh, when they call or they comment on Facebook or contact us and say, I've been hearing something in my attic for the last month, and now it's getting louder and I need everything gone. And I'm thinking, well, a month ago you only had mom, and this could have been something that could have been taken care of easily. Now you have mom and perhaps 4 baby raccoons or a litter of squirrels or whatever has gone on in there because you let it go. And they always seem surprised that they would have babies up there. We, you know, most of this area in Chicago area, we don't like to have dead trees, piles of brush, unsightly landscape, shall we say. That's what a lot of these animals live in. They'll live in a giant brush pile, dead trees. I had a dead tree that was taken down at a farm a few years ago that had 2 litters of raccoons, 2 litters of squirrels, and multiple birds' nests in it. When that thing hit the ground, it was a nightmare. I was there for half a day just trying to collect babies from all over the place. Parents, of course, took off in fear. We always try and do reuniting, but it's a little difficult when they've cut down and chopped into bits the entire household from the neighborhood without any thought to what was involved in there. Um, and those are the things that I personally try and strive for to get people more aware. You need to be more aware that it's not just us. It's a lot of other things going on around us.
Yeah. So you said you went there. Do you go to take animals out of attics and things, or do people bring injured animals to you, or is it a
Yeah.
mix, or how does that work?
Well, we are not licensed trappers. So to remove animals from someone's home physically generally requires a trapping license from the state of Illinois. I don't have a trapping license. I have no intentions of getting a trapping license because there's a lot more different rules and specifications for that. But we do partner with a couple of trapping services that will work with us, that will call us and say, I just did this and this. I just trapped so and so. They said they caught mama, drove her off to the country and let her go 20 miles away. And now they hear more noise and called us, and I have babies with no mama. So a lot of trapping services will work with rehabbers if we will work, if they'll work with together. Some people get pretty angry about that situation. We obviously can't take all of the animals that these trapping services are involved in, but we can do the best we can to help out and work with them. We do go on pickups. I'm certainly not going to tell John Q. Public to try and wrestle an owl to the ground, or can you just grab that sandhill crane for me? I mean, you know, I have my volunteers that go out on pickups have been trained. I mean, we don't just send people out. You have, you need to bring a net, you need to have crates, and you need gloves, and you should have those in your vehicle at all times if you want to do animal rescue pickups. We do have volunteers spread out a lot, where if I get a call that something's in Pingree Grove or out in Sandwich or something, I can call some of the people we know out there and see if they can assist in getting this animal captured so that it can be taken care of, at some point, whether setting up a trap, talking to a trapping service, and getting them involved, because the laws for Illinois traps, you have to check them every 24 hours. You have to there's a lot of stuff involved. There's no way I can set up traps all over, the county and then work full time and then go out there and make sure that they're being properly maintained and there's not an animal trapped in there. You get a lot of non-targeted species when you're setting up a trap for, like, let's say a mange coyote or fox, you've got food in there. So, the raccoons, the possums, everything goes wandering in there. So you have to be able to be more aware, which is what, trapping services, that's their job. So that's why we try and work with them.
Gotcha. So, what keeps you motivated on a difficult day, and what does a difficult day look like?
Last few days have been difficult. Okay. Um, Trying to get ready for spring. I have a pretty intense job that can, you know, um, keep me very busy. Um, I get a lot of calls and texts. I ask everybody to text me because I'm not answering the phone to get into a discussion with some people while I'm at work. So I'll say text me. And then when I take my breaks or my lunchtime, I return texts and calls. And find out, what we can do. And I need to know where these, location is one of the first things I almost ask everybody so that I can find out where everything is and know who to contact, who else, what rehabber might be closer, this type of thing. It's always imperative that the animal receives the care as soon as it can. So if it's not near me, but it's near another rehabber, I'm going to give them that person's name. Say, call me back if they're not available, but try them. They're a lot closer to you. And that should be the way most of it works. Um, it's frustrating when I'm up very early. I still have my pets and my animals, my horses. Now I'll be getting up early in the morning to feed ant babies and then start work. And then people who everything is a house fire, they want it done right now. I have to say the thing that gets me the most, that really hits me, is when someone is upset because I can't do something right now, or I'm trying to find someone who can do it, and they yell and tell me I don't care. I think those 3 words kill me more than anything because I'm up all night sometimes. I'm taking care of stuff constantly. My volunteers are here. Everybody's working very diligently. We are taking on as much as we possibly can. We put a lot of this time as volunteer time. We put all our money in it. A lot of the volunteers are always picking up stuff and bringing it in, and don't worry about that. I'll grab that on my way in, and this type of thing. So everybody who's here cares. And for somebody to be upset that we're not going to run to them or stay on their time schedule it's like it is. It's like a stab to my heart. It actually hurts when I hear that from someone. I try and remain calm, but it's like, wow, you have no idea what this is like. I did this when I raised my son. I've been doing this through taking care of my mother who recently passed away. I've been doing this through my husband who passed away from cancer. I might slow down because I've got other stuff to do, but this never stops. It's not going to stop long after I'm gone, frankly, but it doesn't stop. And any emergency that comes up, you still have whatever you have here. They're not going to disappear. They're not going to go somewhere else. You have what you take on is your commitment until that animal is well enough to be released or grown up enough, or for whatever reason you brought it in, whether it was a baby that fell out of a nest or something that got hit by a car. I mean, the possibilities are endless, let me tell you. So
And
that has to be. Go ahead.
I imagine if they're babies, they need to eat like multiple times every couple hours or something like that, right? It's not just a 3 time a day feeding schedule.
It depends on the baby. We don't take in the tiny newborns, the pinkies as we call them, because I work again. And while I have volunteers, I can't say that this particular person or that particular person, you have to be here every day at this time or whatever. I mean, they all work very well within the schedule. Don't get me wrong, but I can't take on something that's life depends on other people, shall we say. So if I can't do it, if I can't stop during my lunch, if I feed before work, I'll feed at lunch. I can feed at break. I feed right after work, and I'll feed again at 10 o'clock at night. And that's about, 4 to 5 feedings is the max. Most babies really, by the time you get them, okay, granted, pinkies are a whole nother thing. I mean, 2 or 3 days old, that's a project. And there are rehabbers who are, retired or they stay at home and that's what they do. But maybe they don't have property. They don't have anywhere to put outdoor caging and releasing, the animals on the step-by steps that you take. So I work with several women like that can feed these little tiny guys. And then when they need to be old enough to get their vaccinations and get wormed, they can come here because I have outdoor caging. I have things big enough I can do. We've got enough people to do the vaccines, the worming, et cetera, et cetera. So you work in steps with other people.
That makes sense. I had in mind when you were saying babies that they were the little hatchlings or, newborn little mammals or something.
Well, the owls are probably 10 days old that I got today. So, and they're, they've been
Little.
yeah, like that, maybe. Yeah. But really most little things, I mean, even when we get in kittens, I can't tell you how many times people bring us kittens. Like we had a whole litter of gray kittens and this person was very distraught with me. And while in the wintertime, I do puppies and kittens and I help out wherever I can. That's the community portion of we are a community organization. We're not just wildlife, but I'm not going to take in kittens when I have baby raccoons here. The disease possible crossover and all that, it's way too high to have wildlife and infant, kittens and things. But she brought a box of kittens and argued with me that I didn't know what I was talking about because obviously their tails were striped, so they were raccoons. And I'm like, these are great tabbies. They are meowing. And I went and got a baby raccoon, and I'm like,
Holy cow.
rude kitten.
These
Just
two are not the same.
Yeah, one of these things is not like the other. Yeah. And she was not happy with me, but I did make phone calls to find out where they can go. And we did find somewhere for them to go. But that happens. People, bring me their pets. I've had people, bring me gerbils and hamsters. And I mean, we just thought you could use them. Use them for what? No, these are no, we're not taking that. So
how about the converse of that? What does a great day look like to you?
let's see. I don't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. First thing. That usually is going to happen no matter what because of the dogs. They're used to me getting up very early, so they're on their time schedule too. But I'm going to say having a day go by where everybody who said they were coming out does come out, and at the time that they said they would come out, that's always a bonus. Not getting in any injuries. Injuries will take your entire day and just be it's gone. Injuries can be very time consuming and can remain time consuming for quite some time, day after day of taking care of things. And it's baby season now, so we don't get as many injuries. By fall, when all the juveniles are on their own, they're kind of stupid and they're always getting hurt. They're getting stuck in a fence. They're falling in a sewer. They, hit by a car, whatever it is. So you get a lot more injuries throughout the fall and winter season, than you do in spring and summer. But if I have no injuries and, we obviously take in babies almost daily. So without being totally overwhelmed with, when duck season comes, that can be killer because they'll come in clutches of 10 or 15. And when you've had your third call of them, you're just like, where are they all going to go? But at least ducks are easy to care for because they eat on their own as soon as they hatch. So that's a bonus. So I guess getting through the day with everything actually going as planned, that's pretty important.
So what's a release story that went really, or are you involved in releasing the animals?
Oh, yeah. There's I think one of my favorites was we had taken in a female red-tailed hawk that had West Nile virus. And West Nile in birds is generally, it can be fatal if you're not on top of it with the hand feeding. You can only do maintenance on them. It's a virus. There's nothing you can do to cure West Nile virus. All you can do is do supportive care and keep them alive. So sometimes it's hand feeding 2 or 3 times a day for a long time. Our great horned owl, who's permanent here, was hand fed daily for almost 3 months before she finally was able to eat on her own. But the female red tail that I had, after about 2 or 3 weeks of hand feeding, she started to come around. She started doing better. She got stronger and was very vocal. She did not want to be here. It was very obvious. She had places to go and people to see. So once she was ready to go, if you take in an adult animal, it should go back to where it was found. That's their territory. They may have a mate. There's a multitude of reasons. Youngsters and babies can be released wherever, since the parents are going to chase them out of the territory anyway. But if you have an adult, you need to go back to whence it came. And this bird was found alongside the Fox River. And I drove out there with her. And she was very jacked up. I know she wanted to go. And she got more jacked up when she could smell the water, I think. When we let her go, she took off and just went straight up into a very high tree and started calling. And everybody was kind of quiet. And we were just watching up and down the river. And then I saw this bird flying along along the Fox, above the Fox River, following the river, just pealing, just calling and calling. And it was really flying so fast, I thought it was a Cooper's hawk, which is an accipiter hawk. They fly a lot faster than the red tails. Red tails kind of like flap, flap, soar, they don't really just keep going. And I thought, this Cooper's hawk's coming in for a fight. She's in his territory or whatever. And as it got closer, in the call, we could hear, because it was like vibrating or reverberating off the water and how when you have those noises on a river, they sound kind of weird. When it got closer,
Yeah,
I could tell that was a red tail.
Was it the mate?
Yes. And he met her at the tree. They did a sky dance. Have you ever seen a sky dance? Look it up when we're done. It was, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it now. They in the air, they tail and lock, they dance, they twirl down. Everybody who was with me, we were just in complete awe. No, not a word was spoken. You just watched this, and they were just it was so amazing. And I will never forget that. I'll never forget it. Like I said, I'm getting goosebumps again because that was the most amazing thing I saw. And that was early on in my rehab. And that's why I'm a very, very strong advocate for take it back. Take it back from where you found it, from where it was taken from, if it's an adult, because that mate was waiting for her. Yeah.
Man, that is a really cool story.
It was amazing.
All right. So let's talk about the work that you put into this. When we talked a couple of weeks ago, you talked a lot about the regulation that's involved, and I don't think a lot of people are even aware of that. So can you tell us about some of the certifications and the permits and everything you need to do just to be able to operate?
Well, there's state and federal laws, depending on what it is you want to work with. Most people don't realize that all mammals are regulated by the state in which they live. We're not allowed to take animals from out of state, mammals from out of state. We're close enough to Wisconsin that I get calls from people with fawns in Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin has had a lot of chronic wasting issues. They do have rehabbers up there, but they're a lot more regulated for their deer because of the fact they've had this long-term issue with chronic wasting disease in deer. And we have it here too, but it's not as bad as Wisconsin. So I can't take a deer or a fawn or any mammal from another state and bring it to Illinois. It's for to help with disease prevention. I mean, granted, in the real world, they're crossing over wherever they're not paying any attention to state lines, but we can't physically bring them over. Birds are under federal regulations, and birds are they can be from anywhere because it's a federal thing. So it's the whole United States except for Hawaii. Hawaii is a closed state. They don't allow animals in or out. They have no real disease going on over there. It's kind of amazing, actually. But you also can't bring things in or out. They're very tight regulations as far as anything's coming in, plants and fruit. I don't know if you've ever been to Hawaii, but you might as well be coming back from some of the tropics somewhere for what they check you for, because they don't want anything brought in to that island. So we have state and federal licensing, and I have separate permits for certain things like fur-bearing animals, so we can have raccoons and fox and things like that. You have to have that in addition to other permits. We have an endangered species permit. We are also USDA, which allows us to have an education permit. And this allows us to take our unreleasable animals off-site and do programs at schools. Like I said before, scout troops, events. So there's quite a number of permits and a lot of paperwork involved in everything. And some of the permits cost money to renew. And that's because all of this is something that I want to do. All right. You get a lot of people that are like, oh, the government shouldn't tell us what to do. I don't have to do this. Nobody has to. This is a need and a want. So the fact that the government regulates it is a benefit, frankly, to make sure that things are being done properly. And you're not raising, tame deer or taming down an owl in your backyard or anything like that. So it is a regulated, I don't know, what do you want to call this?
So you think the regulations are purposeful and working as intended?
Pretty much. I think they make it difficult to get all your permits to do this, which is probably a good thing because, even with our volunteer applications and asking people what they'd like to do, you get an awful lot of people that say, I can come out a couple times a month to feed baby raccoons, or I can bottle feed deer. It's like, well, that's about this much of everything we do. And it doesn't work like that. So they need to make sure that you are cognizant of the whole, I guess. So there are a lot of questions. You do have to have a veterinarian backing you up. Most veterinarians will not work with wild animals. So you have to find one that will, because they have to write a letter that says they will back you up. They will help you with your injuries and illnesses, allow you to buy antibiotics or vaccines or whatever you might need, and sign off on things. So you kind of need some backing in order to do this. A lot of these things we're still just, regular people. I can't just go buy antibiotics or injectables at the store. I still need a prescription. And since it's not for a pet or a specific animal, it makes it a little more difficult. So you need to have a vet that's backing you up. I have a wonderful vet. I've had the same vet for as long as I've done this.
So what do you think the public would underestimate about the financial and emotional toll of running the wildlife rescue?
I know most people really don't have any idea. I don't know how you can explain it to someone, because everybody's level of I'm stressed out, I can't do one more thing is different. I don't like comparing what we do here with other things. I have friends that run cat rescues that I think, oh my God, what a nightmare, because you never have a real break. There is no kitten season anymore. As you well know, it's pretty much year round. So at least we get a little bit of a break in the winter time from constant babies, though the intakes are different. It's frostbite and things like that. But I don't think most people really realize the work that's involved in this. I get so many people that are like, can you come and pick up this baby squirrel? I have a dog and a child and I can't possibly manage this. And I'm like, okay, okay. I don't know when I can find time. I mean, again, let me see if I can call some volunteers. It's the network of people we have that are willing to, that are willing to be trained and pick animals up is wonderful. I love all the people that have offered to do this because this is hard. A lot of people, they're still afraid. People are terrified of possums or raccoons or I'm not going to have, like I said in the beginning, I'm not going to ask, some elderly lady to go see if that great horned owl needs to be, can you put it in a box or something? I don't want anybody touching an animal that can severely injure them. But on another note, I don't always have the availability to run out and go do this. And I don't know if people realize it is 24 hours. I mean, the highest day I had last year of texts and phone calls, I had 56 in one day, and it was till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. People are driving home
Jeez.
from work and they find something on the side of the road and they're calling. And I don't
Wow.
mind. I don't mind. I mean, I decided a long time ago not to have a service or a message machine. A lot of places do. I'm not, everybody does what as much as they can, because while you will occasionally get the person of, you don't care because you won't drive out 70 miles to come and pick this thing up on the side of the road that I'm still not even sure if it's dead, but whatever. But most people, if you tell them what they can do for now, if you're like, okay, can you, what have you got in your car? Send me a picture. Let me see what's going on with it, and just a lot of times you can say, all right, or, okay, we can probably work with that. Is there any way, I've had people dump all their stuff from their gym bags out in the back seat of their car so that they can lay it in their gym bag on a towel so that at least they can get it off the road and we can start the process of getting it here or getting it to, again, another rehabber who's closer. A lot of people, more people than not, are really willing to try and help it. Some people just can't. And I get that. They're very afraid. But that's walking people through, and the middle of the night calls, generally I can get them to get the animal comfortable and say, call so and so first thing in the morning. And then they feel like, okay, I've done what I could for now. And they've done something to try and help the animal rather than just leave it. And that sometimes is enough. That sometimes is enough to pull them through, that they weren't just left out in the cold there to be found by something else to eat them or whatever. I tell people quite often, long story short, I actually got lost in the woods by my house one day. Okay. I heard what sounded like a baby crow in distress and I just wandered off. Didn't have my phone. Forest preserve behind me and got lost very quickly. Very turned around. It's very thick back there. And it really brought to light for me the fact that when I tell people that these wild animals die for simple little things. I said, if you're out in the woods and you sprained your ankle or you got a cut or whatever happened, very quickly, you don't have anywhere to go. You don't have anywhere to get food or water or help. You literally are immobilized because of your injury. And this is why a lot of wildlife just passes right there in the woods. They really don't have any option. A lot of what we do is rest and recovery. Bring them in, take care, treat the injury, clean it up, and just let it rest and recover. And just keep it quiet for a couple weeks or a month or however long it takes till the vet feels everything's healed up. And that's sufficient a good number of the time. It really is.
So this being a 24-hour, job most of the time, it sounds like, except for
Mhm.
in the winter.
Yep.
You talked to me a little bit about having a job that enables your purpose. And that really interests me, that perspective. Can you talk about the philosophy?
I have a lot of young people that come here, a lot of school age, high school or whatever, even people who come with their family, if they found an injured animal and the parents bring the kids. And because we have some animals that are USDA education animals, I can show them. We're not allowed to show the general public the rehab and things, which is fine. You want as least amount of contact as possible. But the permanent animals, we can show them and talk to them. And so often these kids are like, you're living my dream. This is what I want to do. I'm in school right now because I'm working to be a nurse. I'm in school right now. I'm thinking of being a teacher. And I go, I'm not going to burst your bubble, but a job like that will not allow you to do this. I did not, grow up wanting to be in accounting. Just wasn't even on my radar. But sometimes you have to look at the big picture. Your job doesn't have to be your life's goal. It doesn't have to be your dream job. Your dream can be the rest of your life. Your job should be something you enjoy. I mean, I don't want anybody just going to work every day and hating their job. But you should take a field that you can handle, that you can manage, but that can support your dream. It doesn't have to be your job that is your dream. So in my case, again, like I said, not any big plans in my life to work in accounting, but it was a job that afforded me the ability to follow my dream. And the fact that if you are going to be doing these kind of things, you will have inspections. Inspections are never told to you when they're coming. They're always surprise inspections. That make sure that you're keeping things up to the standards that are required. You can't be a nurse and get a phone call with them saying we're in your driveway for an inspection. You can't be a teacher. You can't have a job that you can't just say, I gotta go. A lot of jobs, that doesn't work very well. Any position that I took, I told them what I do. And if they call, and it's generally just a few times a year, it's not like you're having to run out the door constantly. But when I get the call, I have to leave. And that has to be part of you understand what I'm doing of this job. And I've never had anybody tell me, oh, you can't be hired here then. We can't have you just wandering off. Everybody's like, oh, that sounds pretty interesting. Okay, that's fine. It happens a couple times a year. But you can't miss those inspections. Those are very important. You will be written up for a missed inspection if you're like, I'm downtown Chicago and there's no way I am going to make it there within the hour. Because they'll wait for you. They'll wait for you for about an hour, wait to see if you're going to come. And getting written up for a missed inspection isn't the end of the world, but now they're coming back. And they could come back tomorrow. They can come back in 60 days. You never know when they're going to come back. So it's kind of stressful, frankly, at least it is for me, knowing that this is going to happen again. But you could have your licensing, in peril, suspended, or whatever, if you are not available for inspections. So you have to have a position that is going to accommodate your dream. So yeah, sometimes your job isn't your life's goal. It isn't your dream. Okay, just keep moving. But you
really
can take a job that's going to, yeah, come on. Your job can support it.
Who's that?
This
All I saw was a tail.
This is Patches. Patches was one of the kittens we did that had FIP. She's missing an eye. FIP is feline infectious peritonitis. She was near death's door multiple times. She's my baby because I spent a small fortune treating her, where she needed to get meds twice a day for like 90 days. It's a long-term project with her, or it was. She's fine now. I mean, these guys are all going crazy, but again, that's part of the thing. If you're taking some of this stuff on, make sure that you are able to. I can't tell you how many people say, I just caught this cat and it's it's a mess. It looks like, this and this happened. Um, I can't do anything about it. So can I bring it to you? Well, I I can't take on a lot of smaller rescues can't just take in something you've just picked up off the street that's going to cost thousands of dollars. You try and prepare as best you can, but you should be in a position that should an emergency arise, you can handle it because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Taking on animals is a very expensive endeavor. Vet bills are one of the highest expenses that you can have.
So what advice would you give someone who feels called to do something bigger but still needs to pay the bills? Especially if it's something like, your mission.
You need to find somebody that you can work with and volunteer for and stick it out. Let's see how long you could see that this is going to really be your passion. I mean, we all have life moments that come up that need to make adjustments, things like that. But I have never had anything where I've not been available. Let's put it that way. Um, unless I was in the hospital, which I have been, um, I'm still monitoring everything through the phone, finding out what's going on and what needs what. And also reaching out to other rehabbers should the need arise, that somebody else that may have a little bit more experience if an issue came up, So again, your network is very important. Should always have your network going.
I like that. Start small, volunteer, make sure your dream is what you think it is, right?
Correct. A lot of people are like, I had no idea that it was this much work. I don't think anybody does, whether you're having a child or you're opening a rescue. Nobody has any idea till it's right there in front of you.
The rubber meets the road, yeah.
Yep.
So the rescue is a ton of work, and that requires volunteers to help you. So let's talk about those volunteers. How do they play a role in your organization?
Everybody has a little niche. Obviously, we need people that can stomach poop and vomit and that kind of thing. I have had people who wanted to start and then they come in and see us thawing out mice for the raptors and get very distressed over that. And I say, this may not be the avenue for you. Everybody has their own levels. I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, a lot of people who think they can manage it when we get in something that's more gory or something along those lines, they find they can't. And that's okay. I'm not going to pull anybody into anything they don't feel they can handle. If you are up for the task, I'm happy to show you, I'll take you down that road. Some of the animals that we have to feed, yes, their food is a little bit different, shall we say. But as I have explained to many a person, a power greater than me decided what they eat. So I could feed that hawk all the broccoli that I feel it needs, and it will still die.
Yeah.
So if you can't deal with that, then, I'm not saying, I've been yelled at that, you tell me you save animals and you help animals, and yet look at what you're doing. I buy from outside agencies. I don't kill anything for food. I buy them frozen and they're all done. Everything's done because I couldn't do it. And I know I can't do it. And I know people say you spend so much money on that. Why don't you raise your own? Because I can't do it. I know they need to eat these things. I work with hunters that bring us, they need to clean out their freezers and we'll get pheasants and we'll get deer meat and things like that. I'm not, not my thing. I don't hunt, but we'll take what we can get rather than have to buy it. It's all been processed properly. It's not like, we're just feeding anything. I never feed any animal that passed here to anything else. I just won't do that. I don't care what it is. It just doesn't happen. I think that once they come through these doors, um, they're in a different level. They're here as a patient. And if they don't survive, they are still treated as a patient and taken care of that way, buried or cremated, depending on what was being done. But never fed to something else. I just can't do it because I was taking care of this animal. You know, I can't do it, which is another
Yeah,
thing
so you got a
people
bond
argue.
there.
Yeah, I, I can't. So, but we do have to feed meat. We do have to feed mice and rats and things like that because that's what they eat. You can't keep raccoons on canned dog food or kibble or whatever you want to, people feed their raccoons and think that when you release them, they're going to find that product out in the woods. We're mom. You're mom for a lot of these babies. You need to start showing them what is food. We'll say today, this week is broccoli week. We're going to add some broccoli to the baby raccoons in the back. And then every day the girls come up from the back, didn't touch it, threw it all over the cage. Big mess. Okay, one of these days, one of them's going to try it, and then they'll all stand around waiting for him to either drop dead or like it. And once they realize we're not trying to poison them, they might all try some broccoli. And then they learn. They start eating it. Then we can add mushrooms the next time. You have to give them this variety so that they learn what they are supposed to be looking for. And feeding dry kibble or monkey biscuits only to squirrels and things, they're not going to find the monkey biscuit fairy out in the woods. You need to show them what's food. It's easier. It's easier to just feed, that kind of stuff. But it's not the right way to do it.
So you told me some of your volunteers have conditions like autism or are on the spectrum, and there's a therapeutic aspect of taking care of those animals. Can you talk about that a little bit for the audience?
I believe that people who work with animals all had something. You always have an excitement of what you want to do, but we also get in either children or adults, and we don't let small children come here, mind you. They have to be over 15 because of the danger of being around wild animals. But I have to say that the autistic volunteers that we've had have an amazing calming effect on the animals. It's something that you have to see to believe, but it's true. Their vibes are different. They can work with the animals and they don't talk to them and they don't do any, they still have more of a connection where there's very little aggression or even the animals being afraid and backing up. There's little of that going on. And we have several adults here that went through some major trauma in their life and need something that is away from the norm, away from the group, away from people. Let's put it that way. Not everybody likes working with people. Animals are much less judgmental.
That's really interesting. So one of those volunteers specializes with turtles. Can you tell us about the turtles?
Yes, he became fascinated with our alligator snapping turtle, which we have uh, endangered species permit from the state of Illinois. And we got one in from DNR, was a confiscation. And because I already had one and the permit, they brought it over here. And it was a rather large one, but they're very interesting creatures, frankly. So it was funny because he just, within a week or so when he came back, there was nothing you could ask about alligator snapping turtles that he did not know. He had studied them. He had spent a lot of time, at the library and online. And his mom said he really just focused, which is what he tended to do, but not on a particular animal or whatever. It was always something else. And very quickly, he's like our expert. We actually have pictures of him talking to large groups of people about their habitat, their likes, their dislikes. I mean, everything you've ever wanted to know. And this is a young man that didn't talk at all when he came. He looked around and he followed his mom, and he really wasn't very chatty. But now he's talking in front of a group of people because it's something that he's so attached with. I mean, he is, that's his thing. He is actually working on a new setup for him outside, something that's going to be a lot more natural looking. So I'm very excited to see what he's got planned for this year.
That sounds pretty cool. So one of the things that I want to focus on with this podcast in general is just the idea that regardless of where anybody is, most people are just trying to do good in their corner of the world. What have you seen in others? I mean, you're getting a lot of volunteers there. I assume you've seen a lot of that just through the work that you're doing with the wildlife. What have you seen that supports that idea?
Well, I do think that people, they certainly want to do something. A lot of people want to do something, especially, I have to say, we used to see it more in younger individuals, not so much anymore. It's more retirees and older individuals that are looking for something to do that kind of meets their needs too. That, like you said, that they feel that they're making a difference. I don't know how many people go through a good chunk of their life and never really find their purpose. I mean, we all know people who may never find their purpose. They're just so self-absorbed. They're not going to be allowing the energy to come in that tells you why you're even here. What's your reason for existing? And maybe that comes to people more as they get older and they're done fighting to get through life and managing a household and small children and things like that. I did that with through my son's life and through other family tragedies that happened and issues that I had. But I always found that the animals are what kept me grounded. I never lost it, shall we say. Because I had to get up. You had to get up and feed them. You have to take care of them. It's not an option. You can't go. It's like if you have a baby, you can't just say, I'm not going to feed him today. It's just too much work. You know what you have to do, and it's going to get done regardless of whatever you're feeling. And I think that's what it is. It's more it's not selfish. It's not self-centered. It's more selfless. You have to be more selfless in order to work with most animals because they can't do it for themselves. And that they're harder than children because they can't even tell you what's bothering them, or this hurts, or I'm hungry. They can't tell you anything. It's all based on your interaction with them, your experience, and a lot of times on your attitude on how that animal's going to react to you.
Yeah, so with my dog, I could tell when my dog is hungry or needs to go
Mm-hmm.
out or whatever. Is it that way with wild animals? Do you kind of get a sense for if you're seeing 1,000 a year. Holy cow. Or
It's
you must have
routine.
some kind of insight there with those animals, right?
It's
Routine?
routine. Do not screw up the routine. I learned that with horses. Good Lord, you can't be late when you feed them. You can hear them kicking the stall doors or the walls or whatever from, down the street, I swear. It's routine. Animals are very routine. They do the same thing, even the wild animals. When we're looking to catch a coyote with mange or we've got a limping something out there, the people say every day at 4:30, it comes through my yard. Okay, let's start figuring out what we're going to do at 4:30 to try and catch this animal. And that's what I tell people. Trail cams are like a gift from God. I swear to God. People will tell me, I never knew that every night this animal came in I never had any idea. And it's the same thing. It's the possums, it's the skunks, it's all of it. The same time, pretty much every night, these animals are coming through, and trail cams have caught so much of this kind of thing where you see what their pattern is, their routine. You know, it's very easy to pick it out. Then it's very easy to figure it out, and then you know what you need to do if you have to step in for some assistance. So trail cams are fabulous. I'm always shocked at how many people have trail cams. You know, when they call me and say, "I've been seeing the same animal every night on my trail cam," and I think people are intrigued with wildlife and the patterns and things like that. So they're ring cameras, for crying out loud. There's stuff showing up on those where every day, every night, at the same time, this coyote walks through my front yard. I had no idea. There's a lot of stuff showing up now. Yeah. Oh yeah, people
We're
love
we're
trail cam.
we're also on such, patterns. You wake up, you eat breakfast, you go to work, you come home,
Mhm,
they're doing the
mhm.
same thing, just
Yep,
outside.
yep, yep, pretty much. So keeping a routine with the animals, keeping them fed at the right time, not switching things around too much. They don't particularly care when we have the babies that are old enough to go outside. When they go outside, everybody like freezes for a while. They don't want to eat. They don't want to look at you. They're all upset. What's going on? You change something. And it takes them a little while to get their, excuse that noise. My bullfrog just woke up. I don't know if you can hear him. He's pretty
I
loud.
can, yeah.
He actually got hit by a car. A bullfrog got hit by a car, and he's missing one
What?
of his back feet, right? How does that happen that he wasn't just, like, squished everywhere, right?
Right.
So yeah, he's missing one foot. I've had him for years. I have a big terrarium in my office,
Wow.
and, yeah, he doesn't have a back foot, so and he's doing just fine. I mean, I never thought I'd be keeping frogs, but, you just never know some of the stuff,
Now you
you
do.
come across. Yeah, yeah, well, that's another thing you have to keep in mind. You can certain animals you can put on a permit for education. Certain animals aren't regulated really, and you could keep them if you so choose, or some reptiles and some turtles and frogs and things like that. Non-indigenous species, starlings, pheasants are non-native. I think they were brought into this country in like the 1700s. So at what point do you deem that they're finally, living here? But whatever. Um, Certain animals are considered non-native species, and a lot of rehabbers won't take them. They're invasive, supposedly. Um, I don't discriminate in that fashion. If something is injured and it's brought to me, I'll do everything I can. Um, I've had people bring me baby mice. I'll do what I can. Um, I if it's brought here, there's a reason for it. People didn't just catch a wild animal and wrestle it to the ground and then bring it into me for no reason. There's something going on. And what was said to me many, many years ago, which has stayed with me forever, is everything that is brought to you was dead. It would have died wherever it was found for whatever reason, it was dead. So you, as a rehabber, as a rescuer, have now offered this animal a second chance. So it's up to you how far you're going to take this. And you can't save them all. So sometimes the second chance doesn't occur. But at least they weren't left alone, cold, scared, whatever. They were comfortable, whatever happened when they passed, or if there's nothing you can do, putting them out of their misery by euthanizing. But it's a really hard concept for most people when you say everything that came through this door was dead already, would have been dead. So you have to look at it that way. A lot of rehabbers get very discouraged when, let's say, a disease process runs through. They end up with distemper. Somebody brought in a sick animal, and nobody knew until we started seeing it happen to other animals that got sick, or whatever it was. And they get very discouraged if they have too many animals they can't save. It's like, why am I bothering? doesn't make a difference. I have the starfish poem framed in a big thing in my wall in my rehab room. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's about a kid walking along the beach, and he's picking up starfish that washed ashore, and he's throwing back into the ocean. And an old man, it's a lot longer than what I'm saying, but the old man is sitting in his chair watching this kid, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And he picks up the starfish. He goes, "I'm going to save this starfish." He says, "There's thousands of them on the beach. What difference does it make?" And he goes, "It makes a difference to this one." And that's what you're doing. You're making a difference to this one. So you can't save them all, but you can maybe save this one. And that's what keeps you going.
Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah, look it up afterwards, the starfish poem. It's kind of long because they really, it's very good. I have it on the wall. I also have the Mother Teresa, Do It Anyway. You can look that one up too. That one's very good. I have that on the wall too, that some people feel that you're doing something to gain glory or whatever. Don't listen to some people. Do it anyway. That's the whole thing on that. It's like the reasons why people may think you're doing something, just do it anyway. It so many people think you're doing something so you can gain attention or whatever. And I'm like the least attention person. Let me tell you, I don't, whenever we've had things happen, I always bring my team with, I won't, be the person that does a lot of the talking in front of a group. I'm just not, I connect better with the animals, frankly, but you don't have to have this. There's no big, bonus at the end of the rainbow, shall we say. You do what you're doing, and you're doing it anyway because that's what's in your heart. That's the reason you're here. That's your purpose.
So I just looked up the starfish poem on online. I think I
Okay.
found it. It might be a different variation than you referenced here, but I'm gonna read it. So an old man was walking on the beach one morning after a storm. In the distance, he could see someone moving like a dancer. As he came closer, he saw that it was a young woman picking up a starfish and gently throwing them into the ocean. Young lady, why are you throwing the starfish into the ocean? The sun is up and the tide is going out, and if I do not throw them in, they will die, she said. But young lady, why do you not realize that there are many miles of beach and thousands of starfish? You can't possibly make a difference. The woman listened politely, but then bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it into the sea. It made a difference to that one, and she smiled.
Yeah. And that's how you have to focus so it doesn't overwhelm you sometimes.
On
You
so
made a
many
difference to that one.
areas of life other than wildlife care, too. That's
Yeah. Yep.
great poem. Thanks for sharing that. So, I think we're going to start to wrap this up here. For someone who's listening right now who feels overwhelmed by the world and stuff that's going on around them, what message of hope would you have, or what message of hope would you have to leave with them?
You have to really look to yourself and find out again. I know I'm said this before, but everybody has a purpose. There is a reason you are here. And it doesn't have to be something fabulous. It could be something quiet and unassuming. But your reason might be the fact that you take your quiet walks in the woods and you've brought me a baby squirrel. And then maybe 2 months later, you found a nest of baby bunnies that had been disturbed and you brought me those. And your reason is that your calmness or your inside trying to keep things together is drawing you to these animals that need help or people. I myself am a kidney donor to my sister, and I feel that whatever I can do, whether it's something small, like rehabbing mice and letting them go, or being there for a person who needs someone just to sit with them. I volunteered at nursing homes for many, many years just to read to them, visit, not do anything in particular. I'm not a nurse, but we do programs at assisted living and nursing facilities. And my mother was in one, and we brought our one barred owl there. And the quiet and the concentration of all these people who normally are in various stages of Alzheimer's was shocking, because the focus was on this bird that brought such a peaceful calm to these people that we make regular visits, even though my mother is no longer with us. So you need to look in yourself and find out what is. That's all you have to. What is with you? What is in you? What is about you? What you're going to do to make your life have meaning. Everybody has a reason. Everybody does. There's nobody that has no reason for being here. You're here for a reason, but you have to find it. That's the hard part of this. It's not going to be handed to you.
But
You
it
have
is
to
hard.
start looking into yourself and find it.
And I think a lot about what you just described there is an aspect of giving back in some way too, giving to others or something.
All reasons are on how you are making a difference. How are you helping? How are you helping people? Are you, working with the elderly? Are you a foster mom? Are you working with other kids? Or is your thing going to be with animals? Do you have the internal calmness that works well with them? I mean, really, we've had people that just, I've told a lot of the people on the autism spectrum have the calmness in them that the animals just pick up on, even though, you'll hear from the parents how, oh, they're all running around the house all the time and they're crazy. But when they come over, everything's different. Everything's different. So it's what's inside. It's what's, again, a lot of introspection is needed sometimes if you're having difficulty trying to find your purpose. But there is a reason. There's a reason. That's the hard part, though. Finding out what that reason would be.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time sometimes.
It does. It does. It does. But it's not going to happen from you sitting in a room. You need to put yourself out there and start finding out what it is that is coming to you. What is it that you personally enjoy, that you personally warms your heart? What is it that you feel, some people music, everybody has their own thing. And if you don't strive to find it and work on it, it may never come. And that's very sad. I find that very sad that people can live their whole existence and never find out why they were here.
So, if we have animal lovers out there that heard what you do or that want to support, how do they support Kane area rehabilitation and education for wildlife?
We have a Facebook page, and we have a list of things that we have on Amazon, Chewy. We have a donate button. We have a post regularly asking about, if you're interested in volunteering. All our information is out there. I don't have, like I told you, it's my own cell phone that people call for animal calls. And I'm fine with that. Most of the time, 99% of the time, I'm good with that, because I would rather talk to someone and find out what's going on and what they can do in the immediate need than have them frustrated because they can't find help. But we're generally available. Again, we have people all over. We're always looking for more more help. Wild animals are not like dogs or cats. They very quickly get used to a person's voice and the person's being, they're just their vibe. When people, like I told you earlier, when people tell me I'd like to come out and I could feed fawns once a month, I'm like, no, you can't. No lie, within a couple weeks of fawns being fed on the bottle, a stranger walks in the fawn barn and everybody scatters. They just know, they are like, who is this? And boop, they're gone. So you can't just show up occasionally with wild animals. You can't. They have to be. We're not imprinting anybody. Everyone's used to me. I live here. I see everybody every day, every day. That doesn't mean that I've imprinted them to humans. It's that they're used to my voice, they're used to my tone, they're used to my personal being, and they know that I'm around and I'm not trying to hurt them. They're not going to run away from me. Somebody strange comes in, that's a natural instinct for a wild animal, is to go away. So people who say I'd like to feed babies or I'd like to do this or that, it has to be regular. You can't just pop in and do some of these things. They won't let you. The animals will not eat for people they don't know very well. Certain species are a little more forgiving, a little more outgoing. Raccoons usually are pretty good, but certain other ones, we had little infant coyote puppies the other year, and they got really particular on who was going to feed them. They literally would not eat for too many people at all. It was basically me, frankly. and that's okay. It's like, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. But every species has a different type of formula, a different type of mix, a different way to handle them. It's a lot of training. And if I'm going to spend all this time showing you what needs to be done, you saying, after 2 months and we have 10,000 animals here, leaving is very detrimental to our organization. We really look for people that are going to come and they're going to stay. They're going to stay until everything's released. And, we have people year round. We have a lot of people year round. Don't get me wrong. But obviously, summertime, college students, things like that, when they're home, we do have more volunteers. But people who want to super interact with stuff, you got to be here. You got to be here so that they get to know you and they realize that you're not going to, you're not scary. It's a lot different than dogs and cats.
I will include a link to your Facebook page so that
Okay.
others can see you and learn more about you. And I appreciate your time. This has been a very interesting interview, totally very unique.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It is an
Any
interesting
last
life.
thoughts? It sounds like it. At 10,000 animals, that shocked me when you said that.
It just, yeah, I mean, when you think about all the years, that we've been doing this, and the shift, it's weird just to notice the shift, how 10 years ago, boy, did we have a bazillion foxes all the time. We would get 20 plus foxes in a year. You hardly get any foxes now. They're just not in the area. They've moved further out because like I said, this used to be the middle of nowhere and it's not anymore. I wish that they would spend more time with us rehabbers on issues that, we see firsthand. We kind of see this shift and we see these changes and we see something. When chronic wasting first came out, I said, I get fawns brought to me from 4 different counties because there's only like 5 of us that do deer in all of Northern Illinois. So DuPage County has nobody. Cook County does. I mean, it's kind of, crazy, but you need a separate permit for deer. And I said, let me do blood draws on them. I can, put nail polish on their feet or however we want to tag them so we know who. Let's see if we could find something besides the only test you have now is brain tissue. That kind of sucks. No, they didn't want to work with us. They were like, well, we're not sure how that would. How about if you just try and see if something's showing up in blood? Where else are you going to find a bunch of fawns from all over the state besides at a rehabber? Not interested. It was kind of a bummer. We really we're hoping we could help with that issue. Or any, again, I feel like we're like the gatekeepers. We see some stuff as it's starting to, we're the ones that saw all the birds that were dying and said something's going on. And then West Nile virus started. Same with bird flu, when you see hundreds of dead birds on the shore, you're like, okay, I had 14 calls in 3 hours about dead birds. Something's going on. Who else are people going to call? Yeah. So I do wish they would work with us more, because I do think that we have a lot more. We're like the first responders sometimes to a possible issue, but not in Illinois, at least. What can I say?
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thanks
All
again.
right.
This is really interesting. The American Neighbor Project is grateful for every listener and guest on the show. Each conversation is intended to bring back real one-on-one conversations and to stir thoughts. Whether we agree with each other or not, it doesn't matter. I'm here to learn through conversation. I hope these interviews expand your way of thinking on different topics. Most importantly, I hope it encourages you to talk to your neighbors, especially the ones that you don't think you'll agree with. You'll be surprised. There's more to agree on than not. I can't continue to do this show without amazing guests. If you know an everyday American with an extraordinary story, I want to hear it and maybe bring on a new guest to the show. Please navigate to american-neighbor-project.com /contact and tell me about this amazing story.